I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a seven-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. Welcome to the Growth and Grit podcast. Today, I'm joined by Kerry Cooke, who turned a simple frustration into an innovative product that was changing the way we care for our dogs on the go. She's the founder and inventor of Spleash, which is a leash attachment that makes it easy for your pup to stay hydrated wherever adventure might take you. Her story is about creativity, persistence, and grit, and all the things it takes to bring an idea to a vision to a reality. So thanks so much, Kerry, for joining me on here today. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Julia. Nice to be here.
So tell me a little bit, what was the moment where you had the idea to create Spleash?
Um, so I love dogs. We have 3 of them, and at the time, the newest member of the family, Lola, is a black lab Weimaraner mix. She weighs 95 pounds. She needs long locks, and we live in San Diego County, so it's, usually warm, and, it's a really good idea to bring water on every walk. Well, it was like the 500th time I would go out to walk Lola, get a couple of blocks away, and then realize I forgot the water. So it's not just a pain where I have to go back and backtrack, but Lola didn't like backtracking. She thought the walk was over and she was resistant to go back. She's like, I want to still explore. So one day we were out there, she's taking a little break under a tree, and I had remembered the water bottle, but I had one of those kind that you squeeze and the top fills up with water. She was really hot, so I was squeezing and I was sort of like tossing it on her. I'm like, what if you could make this the handle of you could make something the handle of the leash, the water bottle, and it had a squirt feature so that when you have hot moments like this, you could just spray your dog down and cool them off. So I fully intended to come home and buy one. Like I got on Amazon and I started searching for water bottle handles, dog leash, water bottle, those kinds of search queries. And I was in deep at this point. I'm like 20, 30 pages, couldn't find anything. Then I'm Googling, can't find anything. And I'm like, there's just no way I've thought of something that doesn't already exist. Um, and that was it. I was just like, okay, well, let's start doing some research then, and it went on from there, but, I immediately my daughter and I were like, I think we're on to something. We have to try it."
Yeah, absolutely. Did you when you were, creating this, how I always wonder, like, how long the process is from, like, idea to, like, product in your hand. Like, what is the timeline for that? Like, if you have an idea and you're like, "Okay, I wanna create this product," what should people expect? Like, when could you get, like, a viable and, like, what are those
Right.
steps like?
The steps are the steps are a lot more than you think. There's way more of them than you think. But I think we had that idea, I wanna say, like, in November of 2018, around then. It was really warm fall that year. And so I had the idea, started researching everything, talking to my family about it, talking to other people, asking questions. And I didn't like decide to really go for it and form the company until March of 2019. So that was a good, just sort of stewing on the idea, seeing if if I could do it.
Yeah.
And then once I committed to doing it, forming the company, and then trying to find, people to help me make it real, I I think it was probably we were expecting our first delivery of our first production run in May of 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. And that was just it didn't go the way we thought it was going to. So we were delayed and we didn't actually get product out into the market until um, um, December, like 26th. I think it was the day after Christmas
Of 2020?
of 2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really long delay.
From starting to the sales process, financially, what did that look like for, like, a personal I know you can do Kickstarter and different things like that, but from a personal financial investment, if somebody wanted to start a product, how much money should they realistically expect it to take?
Yeah. It depends on the product, of course. I happen to think of a product that's really complicated. It seems very simple. Um, but the fact that it has, and just for the audience sake, to,
Yeah.
hold it up. Um, so this is the spleesh, and it attaches to any standard size rope, leather, or nylon leash. You add it on, and then the handle becomes it becomes the handle of the leash. You fill it up right here with 12 ounces of water, and then it sprays. So all of these components make for a complicated product to put together. We had to figure out how to get the squirt functionality inside, still making it leak proof. It had to be ultrasonically welded together. It's got the flip open cup. So it's got some moving parts to it. Actually, it has 12 different molds that are responsible for the product. And those molds, each one costs a lot of money to make. I mean, it's the one that's going to take the product forward, and you can make slight changes to those molds, but each time you have to recast a new one, it's really expensive. And then if you want to protect your idea, you also have to deal with patenting it and trademarks. So I would say you would probably want somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 100,000, realistically, to do the patenting, the product, discovery piece. There's multiple times you have to change the molds. You get feedback from people after you get the first run. So it is quite expensive to do on your own. Um, but if you can pull it off, then you sort of have this product that is all yours. You haven't promised it out, percent by percent to anybody else. So,
Yeah. How long do you think on average it would take to become, like, profitable, like, in the green essentially for something like that? Like, how many years do you think?
depending on, all your marketing strategy and everything like that, it would be a good couple years for a small company on a small budget to get into profitability for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that makes
Mm.
sense. What's a challenge, of running a product-based business that people don't usually see?
There's so many. Where do I start? Um Gosh, the thing is, and maybe it's different if you already I worked in retail in early in my career. I worked for Nabisco and I worked for Gallo Wine Company, and I understood schematics and placement on the shelf and all of those types of things that you need to consider. But there's so much beyond that. I mean, just okay, talking schematics and getting on the shelf. Well, you have to have a UPC code. You have to have a barcode on the back of your package. You have to have those registered. There's just like every tiny thing that you don't know because you weren't in this business originally, like I wasn't. There's something to learn every single time. And with the box, there's certain things that have to be on the packaging. You need to learn all of those rules. You want to have a shelf hanger in case it does get in to retail. Again, the barcode has to be on the package. So the first run of the packaging, you want to make sure you have all that set because it's very expensive to have to
Mhm.
change things and do another run. Um, Yeah, there's just a litany of things that you need to keep in mind. Not to mention, if you're going to launch in e-commerce, then you have the website. You need to have conversion optimization in mind, search engine optimization. You have to have um, email marketing set up and social media. There's just so many things. So it's an elephant, and you just have to take it one bite at a time. You really do. You just sort of tackle one problem each morning, and then see what other problems that one highlights for you, because that's exactly what happens. As you start digging into one thing, you'll learn 5 things about something else and go, "Oh, I should have done that too."
Yeah.
So, mhm.
And do you wanna share, like, what's been your most costly mistake?
Ooh, oh, well, this one was a doozy. Getting ready for launch, like I said, we were trying to do this, so it was really early 2020, and we were setting up for a mid-2020 launch, and, the Association of I'm trying to remember their acronym, ADPT, Dog Professional Trainers American Dog Profe anyway, the
Yeah.
Association for Professional Dog Trainers was, they're having a meeting, and I wanted to advertise in their as a vendor, and put my stuff in their newsletter, and they have a printed magazine. And, so I thought it'd be great, get it a little ad in there. So, there's a whole bunch of other learning things, like just the specs for an ad. You have
Mhm.
to learn all the ratios and how big the picture needs to be and resolution and all of those types of things. So we got all the information to them, and we had that on our timeline of when events were going to happen leading up to us getting the product. And um all of a sudden, I started getting inquiries from people. Turns out the magazine comes out at a certain time, but the online edition comes out like a month and a half before that. We weren't ready for that, because we didn't know it would be made public that much earlier than the actual print edition information. It was just an epic misunderstanding on my part, and so we weren't ready. We didn't have the website live yet. I mean, it was just like the comedy of of errors. And, so we had to push and get products there faster than we wanted to. We were still struggling with some other issues in making it leak proof, so we had a whole batch of product come in that had a slow drip at the spray head. And, water is gonna come out of this hole anyway, because it's a hole, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't wanna store it, like, this way. It shouldn't leak when it does that, but it is a hole on the end of squirt gun. So, that costs a lot of money. We had to figure out the leak issue, then get product remade, and then figure out what to do with all the product that had the problem, some of which is still sitting in a warehouse. And I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. Then I'm like, "I'm just gonna think about this later."
Yeah.
So 6 years later, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's like you
So
wanna
weird. It's like
recycle it, you don't wanna throw it away, but it's just like, "Oh, maybe it's just not there for right now."
everyone gets a
And,
spleef for Christmas. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was expensive.
What do you think is harder? Do you think it's harder to build a product, or do you think it's harder to get people to buy it? Like, which one, like, is the marketing and advertising and getting it out there harder than the actual creation? Like, what would you say?
Um, if you asked me this question, maybe while I was just getting ready to launch it, I would say building a product is harder, just because of all the things I said I had to learn to get to that point. Um, if you ask me today, now I'm 6 years in, the product's been on the market since the very end of 2020. Um, I'm gonna say selling the product. So when you're a small brand and you don't have venture capital or anything, and then you're just bootstrapping it, you're relying on the sales to fund the future for you. And, I think one of the biggest changes that happened that really hit us super hard was the iOS changes that blocked a lot of the tracking for little folks and big folks alike out there. It just crushed our ability to get our message out more organically. And then you're forced to do ads, and while you're still trying to perfect your messaging and see what's gonna resonate with people the right way, you're spending a lot of money at the wrong time when you're not ready for it. So, I mean, I've made a multitude of mistakes in that process, but I think you do have to have a really solid marketing plan. I mean, I'm a salesperson historically in my career. I've been in sales, so I thought I can just sell this thing. There's no problem with that. It is it's tricky with an actual product, getting it in front of the right people at the right time with the right messaging. And there's so many different factors involved and expenses that go along with doing it. So it's been a lot more difficult. It's been humbling. I'll just say that. It's been very humbling. I mean, I think we were on the Today Show, we did really great with that. We were on a TV show, Amazon Buy It Now, and we got the best feedback, you couldn't dream of better feedback that we got from the panel. And I was so prepared. I took all the prize money and bought inventory with it, and, yeah, unfortunately, not that many people saw the show, so, there's forecasting. It just really is, there's something at every turn to think about or make you rethink what your priorities were, what your strategy was. So you have to be very nimble and, pivot quickly and try and not get too stuck in these intractable positions that are gonna hurt you in the long run. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you had like a magic wand and you were like, these 2 things could probably just change the game for my business, what would they be?
I think coming out with a clear version of the product would be one. We're struggling with that. Who knew? Again, learning. Who knew that black plastic welds together differently than clear plastic? It's almost impossible to get, and everything else is clear, like water bottles and things like that. But the difference being with the Spleash, when you're walking a dog with this, and we like to affectionately call Lola Monster because she's monstrous. She's big and she's also dog aggressive. So when we go out on a walk and we see another dog, she rears up and lunges and her hackles are up. She's just not happy and pulls like crazy. So, okay, we had to make sure this connection was strong so that it wouldn't break and
Yeah.
the dog wouldn't go running off. That was super important. So we proved we can pull a truck with it. It's super strong. But what you don't think about is when she sees a dog, it's not always going to be head on, right? It's going to be from the side sometimes. She's going to see somebody out of the side of her eye and she's going to start pulling that way while you're still going this way. So that pull has to withstand the torque of a 95-pound dog or higher pulling in a sideways direction. So the plastic, the joints, everything has to be really solid together and not have any egress for water to get out. So this is a kind of a hard thing to do. I mean, that's why I don't think anybody's ripped us off because it's really hard to engineer a product to do those things, and clear plastic behaves just slightly differently. So we're still trying to do it, but I think that would be a big change. I have a version of it right here. I can show you. It's cool looking. You can see what your water level would be. Um, you can see that it's not a retractable leash inside. A lot of people, when they look at Spleash, think it's a retractable leash. And I think instantly they would go, "Okay, there's no leash in there. What is that?" And look a little bit more closely at what it is.
But it can't
So
handle
that would
pulling?
be
That one can't
eh,
handle torque?
well, it can handle the torque, but it hasn't been able to do it without leaking.
Oh.
So some parts of the scene, and it's
Oh,
just
wow.
some weird
Could you make it by
frequency,
sound? Like, could that be for dogs under a certain weight?
maybe, yes,
Like a heavy duty, you know
maybe.
how they have, like, different types
Yeah,
of cones and different types of everything for dogs?
yeah,
Like, up
yeah.
to 40 pounds, you can use the clear one. But anything
Yes,
over
yeah,
40 pounds, you gotta get the black one, and maybe it's more expensive, but
yeah.
people with big dogs are used to spending more money on everything.
Right.
It just is what it is, you know?
That is true. The problem for us personally right now is to do that to change the mold. We have to change the mold. We have to pay all the money to get new molds made, and there's 12 molds, as I mentioned, and then
Oh,
they have to
yeah.
be smaller. So it is just one of those things that
So the black mold can't be
eventually
used the same as the clear? They're different molds?
they they can, but if we were to make it smaller,
Oh,
um,
I see.
yeah, yeah.
But would a smaller dog
Mhm.
cause the leak in the clear leash even with that big one?
Oh, it's not so much the smaller dog, it's that the actual frequency for the welding, it just isn't.
Hold. Oh,
We haven't been able to find the right one that will withstand the pullet, but also just not leak. So,
yeah.
it has to do both things really well, and right now, we haven't been able to get past that point for the clear one, but I do think people would respond really well to it. We did a TikTok, I held up that clear version before, and that one went viral, so I'm like, "Okay, that caught some attention, that could be really good for us," and that's when we were really investigating it. But then, yeah, we have to use the existing molds, and
Yeah.
it's just always something.
Yeah, of course.
You're juggling not only, you're juggling balls, but you're spinning plates at the same time. You're just trying to figure out which combination of things is going to work and help you get to the next level. So, we're
Yeah.
still working on that.
I think product-based business in general, especially small business, is just like this labor of love, right? Where you have to just like
Yeah.
be so invested. Were there ever times where you're like, forget it?
There were some pretty dark times. Like I said, that when we made the announcement and we had to go early and then we rushed the product, it had a leak. That took a really long time to get the next batch of product. And each time they would send me some test ones, there'd be something wrong with it. I'm just like, no, like,
It takes forever, right? Like,
yeah,
not like
yeah,
a short
yes.
process. Months.
No, I mean, in the early product development stage, we were able to 3D print stuff just to get the idea of the size and fit and what, the shape should be. But once you're starting to produce and what the actual end product is going to look like, then yes, it's a lot of back and forth. Thankfully, the group that I was working with is really close to where I live, so I could walk there with the dogs. We could go check things out and then, come back and didn't have to wait for each little piece to happen in overseas, but the final boxes, yeah, everything has to come over, and again, all of that was happening towards, like, deep in the pandemic, and everything was shut down. They shut down for a long time. I mean, it just is a comedy of errors how things sort of, like, snowball and trying to get yourself back on track after something like that. And I'm not saying I experienced anything different than anybody else did. Everybody has, challenges that happened during that time. But it just really was like one of the yeah, it was a dark time for me just trying to be mentally strong and keep the idea going because there were many days where I was just like, okay, this just isn't gonna work. I should just call a spade a spade.
Yeah, absolutely. And what advice would you have for, like, young entrepreneurs that might be listening to this that are either venturing out on their own to start their own business or wanna develop a product or have these ideas of, "I wanna do, this innovative thing." Like, what's the best advice based on your experience you could give them?
I mean, just well, first, you have to really believe in the product. You have to do a ton of research and make sure there really isn't anything else out there on the market like that. Because if you're just ever so slightly different than something that's already available, you'll get some good business experience, but it's not going to be a very successful venture, right? If you have a good idea and you spend a little bit of time, like I said, from I was like November till March, noodling on things, seeing if after doing a little bit of research every day for months, like, should I do this? Can I do this? Really be introspective and think about the changes to your lifestyle if you take something like this on. You have to be very passionate about your idea and do tons of research. I mean, that's not like groundbreaking advice by any stretch, but it's realistic advice. I mean, you really do have to live and breathe your product for a while to make sure that you can you know, get it out there and get people to wanna buy it.
And obviously, you're doing all this. It's not like Spleash is paying you to create this, you know? Like
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm
you
working another job.
Yeah.
I'm working another job, so unless you're independently wealthy, yeah, you do have to pay bills still. You have to do all the regular stuff, plus you have this, sort of side passion project that
Yeah.
you hope someday will, grow up and help you support your dreams. Um, it's definitely yeah.
So per week, between your regular job and Spleash, what would you think is like your weekly time investment if you combined both? How many hours?
Oh god, I mean, like, 80 for sure. If
Minimum.
if not more, yeah, minimum. It's just, right when you think you're like, "Okay, I'm done for the day," something else will pop up,
Yeah.
some message from Google or Facebook or, Shopify, whatever platform you're on, TikTok, stuff changes, there's updates that happen, those updates impact everything. Like, you're just on this treadmill constantly, um, and it's fun, though, because that's the part one thing you can go and have a nice safe job somewhere and punch the clock and do 9 to 5 and get your paycheck and then live outside of work, for some excitement, but it in my opinion, it just is too boring. I wanna learn. That's part of being alive is, like, just learning, experiencing new and different things. I mean, I happen to pick one that's slightly torturous, but it is something I have learned so much about business, about products, about dogs. I mean, just the amount of information I now know about dogs and dog behavior is just completely different than where it was when I had this idea. Like 100% different. And um yeah, just you should take the leap. You should want to learn and grow as a person, much less as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Was anyone, based on, okay, having a full-time job that you're working and committed at during the week, and then doing Spleesh on the side leaves you virtually no time for much else. Did you catch any negatives from family or friends that were like, "We never see you anymore," like, "What are you even doing?" Like, did you catch that from them at all?
A little bit, yeah. Most of my family is very understanding about everything, and all of them are. But yeah, there's things that you miss, and you have to go do a weekend trade show. You don't have the opportunity to just sort of unplug the way I think, sometimes should. Because again, there's just always something happening that you didn't think about originally, and um, there's those little leaks sort of start coming everywhere, and you're just gotta find them and plug them up and then move on to the next, the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
It's nothing good comes easy.
right.
It just
It's
doesn't.
always a grind.
Yeah.
Did you read any business books that really helped you?
Um, well, there is one, it's called, Burn the Boats,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, that one, I think that's just really great for mindset and, you know, to your venture.
Mhm.
People and you can focus in really on all the negatives so easily, but trying to focus in on the positives and what you have learned and what you're overcoming, may seem insurmountable, um, to you, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a delightful problem for most people in the world to have or to have to worry about. So perspective is really important. And I think that helped sort of highlight some of what perspective you have about your business, about yourself, and about what you're trying to achieve. So,
Yeah, that's a really good message. Um, okay, so if people are watching this and they're like, I need that leash attachment." How will they find Spleash? Like, where did they go? Spleash.com, right?
yes,
And we can put a QR up
Bleach.com.
there and show people where to go and put some of your collateral on there, but they would go to your website?
Yes, they can go to our website. That's the best place to get it. We also are available on Amazon, of course. So with the Buy It Now show, it really did help us get everything ready for for Amazon
It seems
presence.
like a really great product to demo. So, like, at trade shows, you guys go to, like, dog parks and trade shows and things like that to demo it?
Yes, absolutely, and those are the most fun, because you get that instant feedback from people. The sentences. Well, first of all, they look at me kind of like, like, "That's a big retractable clunky looking leash," and I'm like, you can see it when they walk by, you're like, "Ugh," I'm like, "It's not a retractable leash," and then I spray and water sprays out. It sprays at least 14 feet. And they're just like, "Wow, what is that?" And they come over, and then it's like the next thing is, "That's brilliant. You should be on Shark Tank. Where can I get one?" I mean, it's almost universally those 3 sentences, which is just great for anybody to hear that type of feedback.
Mhm.
That's awesome. I love it. Um, but yeah, we
Have you
can,
tried Shark Tank?
um
Have you applied to be
Oh,
on?
yeah, we applied. I have my little tryout bracelet. From It's sort of like a motivator, sits here on my desk. I can't do any other show since I was on the other one for a couple years. It's in the contract, but we did try out. We got a couple stages down the road the first time we tried out, and that was, like I said, every time you open a little door to something, it brings up so much you didn't know about it. The process to try out for Shark Tank is not for the faint of heart. I mean, you do a 10-minute video, you answer 400 questions. I'm not kidding. It's like a lot of questions. And it was just this really fun experience we had when we actually got to go try out in person too. And just to see all the other entrepreneurs out there doing something like you're doing, it was like our crowd, right? We were hanging with these people, waiting in line, talking about what we've tried so far, what's working, what's not working. And I think probably the best thing about doing this business for me has been the camaraderie I've gotten with other product-based entrepreneurs, because
Mhm.
it is a smaller circle and they really know what you're going through. Like, they get it.
Yeah,
We understand, when you're talking about, an issue with the website or social media or distribution, manufacturing, every you don't have to go into the long explanation of things. They get it right away, and they're there for support and networking and helping introduce you to people who may be able to help you solve something or for you to help them solve something. I love helping other entrepreneurs get to the answers that took me longer to get to on
yeah.
my own. Yeah, it's very rewarding.
The networking is great.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on here and sharing your story. I think, people will gain a lot of perspective for sure on just the challenges and the endurance you need to have in order to start something from the ground up. And I just appreciate how open you are and how much you shared. So thank you so much.
Aw, thank you, Julia. I'm really, happy and honored to be on your podcast, and I hope that I was helpful for some people, and, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Every week on the Growth and Grit podcast, we bring you real stories and practical tools to help you thrive through challenges. If this resonates with you, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this podcast with someone who could use it too. It only takes a second, but it would mean the world to us, and it keeps you plugged in to fresh inspiration.